Hello, everyone. My name is Korosh Erfani. I am a sociologist and a political analyst. And on this Saturday, September 13, 2025, I would like to talk about an interesting subject. I start with a question. The question is, why does Israel try always to infiltrate the right nationalist movements in Western countries? Anything that you qualify as nationalist, patriotic, right wing, etc., there are some Zionist elements infiltrated in and trying to control them. So the question is why? And the reason for which I choose this subject is that today we had interesting and impressive march of the far right in London. Some 100,000 people or even more gathered, and that was essentially at the initiative of a very known political figure, public figure in the in the United Kingdom, which is Mr. Tommy Robinson. Of course, you should be familiar with him. There are many documents like this one that show the links of Tommy Robinson to the Zionist network, we can say. Um, uh, for example, here you have the pictures that show effectively it's a question of the Zionist itself, with the T-shirt of the IDF. And things like that are telling us that it's a question of someone who is most probably linked directly with the Zionist Israeli network. Now, but it's interesting to know that the march had very signs and we can say the figures of the Zionists and the Israelis. For example, here you see it's a question of a far right march, but what you have effectively is the Israeli flags almost everywhere, right? And that's why it's very interesting to know what's going on and why Israelis are always trying to come among them, be present, and somehow influence what is going on within the march or any other activities. What is interesting, for example, here you can see two very known Zionist, French Zionist politicians coming to London, to participate in this march. Why Zionist French should be interested in something that is going on over there? Of course, because that's a good opportunity to them to do what I am going to explain. Of course, we have the people who are right or far right, but they are not Israeli. They are not linked to the Zionist network, and most probably that's why they are not there anymore, right? And you can see that immediately the Zionist agents within the Trump administration are trying to use and abuse this situation in order to launch a serious repression action against anyone who criticizes Israel. So that's why, because of all of these, we are interested to know why Israel or the Zionist networks does that. So let's see the first objective of the Israelis in order to infiltrate the right wing or the right movement almost everywhere in the network. The first one is neutralizing the traditional anti-Israeli character of these movements, because traditionally there is a very strong anti-Israel anti-Zionist character or feature in this nationalist movement. And Israel, by coming there, being present, like we saw that in this image, they try effectively to neutralize this characteristic. So that's why the rally today in the United Kingdom became and turned into somehow we can say anti-Islamic or anti other communities than the Zionists. That's the first objective. The second one is pushing the far right or right movements toward a kind of animosity toward the non-Zionist communities, Muslims or others. Anyway, whatever can be a risk or a threat for the activity of the Zionists, they try effectively uh, um, to sharpen the animosity of these movements against these communities. Another one is to use effectively the power of action of these movements against the non-Zionist communities, any other communities but the Zionists, right? And they somehow we can say they provocate, they push, they encourage them to go to war with the, Muslim or other communities anyway. So also one of the objectives, and this is very important, is preparing these societies, to have effectively chaos and disorder, and then at a given moment, a civil war. Uh, that's the best way the Zionist networks can do that if necessary. So now we have another question, another idea. We should know that for the Zionism, whatever is the national label of this Zionist movement, it's always question of, the interest of Israel, and these interests are effectively to them, to Zionists, always and without any exception above anything else. So there is no anything that can be called national interest of the United Kingdom, of the United States, of France, or whatsoever. For Zionists, it's a question of sacrificing any other national interest for the Israeli national interest, effectively, right? So this is what they do systematically, and what's happening within the far right movement or right movements is effectively that, is preparing them, using them, as in a very instrumental approach in order to sacrifice their national interests for the benefits of Israel. They do that by means of anything, including these movements. Another objective is keeping nations, all the nations, separate from each other and against, having the animosity and hostility regarding each other, so that they can use each of them against another one whenever it's necessary for the Israeli interest, right? Also, within the nations, it's a question of having a nation in a scattered way, separate, and with several fronts, ready to fight each other, of course, always for the interest of the Zionism. So that's why they transform, for example, the question of immigration into a problem for the national identity, a threat for the national identity, and in this way, they try to provocate effectively the anti-immigrant movements or the things like that. So we can see that something is happening within these movements, and one can ask why these movements are not really aware about what the Zionists is doing to them, you know. So that's why there are many questions for the American law rights, for the British right, for example, to be attentive about what is going on. And we have this experience because the Israelis did also so in other countries. I have the experience of the Iranian revolution, which was something, which was a coup, effectively designed and planned and managed by the Zionists. And we saw that how they take one part, one fraction of the population, and they put it against another one, and then in this fight that can last for decades, and they try effectively to deplete all the resources of a country. So that's why it's very important for all the people in the United States or in the Western countries who consider themselves as right to be attentive about that, and to know really to side with each with which community, with which part of the population, you know, because they can easily bring your countries into the civil war, you know, with the image that we saw today. And you notice that it's a question of clash with police, with the law enforcement in London. So it was question of a lot of slogans against Muslim, against the religious belief of Muslim, against the Palestinian, for example. All of these are the Zionist manipulation, and they can use that in order to trigger a civil war only and only for their own interest. Think about that, be aware about that, and we are going to talk about that more in the future videos. Thank you for watching. Bye.